Alrighty, what's going on, you guys? So I'm making this video to react to the Jahan Dotson trade that the Commanders executed, I believe it was last week, to the Philadelphia Eagles for a few draft picks. Um, I know a lot of people are upset or were not too keen that they were trading Jahan Dotson, but especially that he was being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, and an NFC East rival, and more importantly, a Philadelphia Eagles team that already has a lot of talent on the roster, to be quite honest. A lot of people feel that you're just helping the enemy. It's kind of the sense that I'm getting. But I actually like the trade. To be completely transparent, I was not a big fan of Jahan Dotson coming out of college. In that draft class, I thought Olave was better. Obviously, Garrett Wilson. I believe the first one that went, the first receiver that got picked that draft was London Drake with the Falcons. Uh, those players have shown that they have, or they were worthy of that first round pick. Garrett Wilson eclipsed 1,000 yards. Olave eclipsed 1,000 yards. Jahan Dotson didn't even get close to 1,000 yards. Uh, so in either year, in either his first or second season. So I do not think that he was producing enough on the field, but I also think he didn't have the right attitude, the right motivation, the right body language. If you look at some of the games where the team counted on him to make big plays, you look at Sam Howell on the pass that he threw to him against the New York Giants. I think it was on a 4th and 1 or a fourth and short distance situation, and really a play that needed to be made. Sam Howell, yes, although the throw was a little bit behind, he rolls out, throws up the ball a little bit behind, but Jahan was open, and that was really to keep the Commanders in the game. Excuse me. So, and he didn't come through. So, when you're a first round pick, you have to come up with those plays. You have to make those impact plays. There was a lack of consistency. Not only that game, that was lack of consistency could summarize Jahan Dotson's tenure with the Commanders in his career so far. Some games he will play good, borderline great, like against the Philadelphia Eagles this past season at home, when Sam Howell in the last minute to tie up the game throws that back shoulder pass to Jahan Dotson, and Jahan comes up with it, and obviously it was a great play made by Jahan. But that is a play that needed to happen all the time, or flashes of that needed to happen all the time, consistently and not inconsistently. So I think it was a good trade. So just to kind of go through the list of some of the players who were selected before and after Jahan. Obviously, you have London Drake with the Falcons, Garrett Wilson with Jets, Olave with the Saints. It is my understanding, if I remember correctly, some of y'all can correct me in the comments, we had that 11th pick and then we traded it away. I believe it was to the Saints, and we fell back to the 16th pick, and then that's where we chose Jahan. So we could have gotten Olave, but we decided to go a different. Just highlights. It literally just embodies the draft process and the talent evaluation by Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew and the old regime. Just the lack of being able to successfully evaluate talent and make those selections when needed. You have Jameson Williams, who hasn't made the impact that he was also predicted to make, but he's still on the team. There's still a lot of promise there. A lot of injuries have set him back, so I think he ultimately, over the long haul, he will have a better career and a bigger impact for his team than Jahan did for the Commanders. Obviously, Jahan was chosen 16. Shannon Burks 18. Not again. That is looking not that great. Pick at that. Christian Watson with the Green Bay Packers in the 2nd round. I mean, he's had a bigger impact for the Green Bay Packers than Jahan ever did with the Commanders, and he's been balling out. He's predicted to be a star. He's an ascending star, and he's predicted to have a huge year this upcoming season. William Robinson, not that great. Mechie from Alabama with the Houston Texans. He has had some injuries. I believe he's had a bit of health scare that has held it back, so can't really blame. George Pickens in the second round with his 52nd pick by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, if we had George Pickens, I mean, who wouldn't want that? I mean, if you ask yourself, who would you want, George Pickens or Jahan Dotson on your team? I think the answer's pretty obvious. So, I'm not mad at the trade. I'm not mad at the trade. What I am a little worried about is that what it is to the Eagles, but with what Dan Quinn came out and said publicly during his interview before a training camp practice, basically saying we're still searching for that number 2 receiver. If you're Jahan, you are supposed to be that second receiver. You are a first round pick. I mean, essentially, you were picked to be the guy, even though we had Terry. I mean, just Garrett Wilson is the guy with the Jets. London Drake is the guy with the Falcons. Chris Olave is the guy with the Saints. So Christian Watson, he's the guy with the Green Bay Packers, even though they have an assortment. Romeo Doubs was another one that was selected later, I believe, in that draft. And look at him with the Packers. I mean, look at the impact that he's having as well. So for Dan Quinn, who evaluates talent every day, by the way, he's up close in person. He has a first row seat to how you're performing in practice every day. Adam Peters as well has not had a ringing endorsement of Jahan, or did not have a ringing endorsement of Jahan at the time. That speaks volume as to how they see you and your lack of performance. And then you have Brian Mitchell, the former Redskins, great, awesome returner, one of the best to ever do it in the NFL. What he came out and said regarding certain people and players, receivers, their body language, confidence, their that they have a sense of entitlement, that they feel that they're owed something. If you're Jahan, I mean, you could tell that was directly at Jahan. I mean, who else? I mean, it's not a coincidence that after all of those comments by everybody that I just mentioned, Jahan is traded away. So obviously, for Dan Quinn to not endorse you as his number 2 and say we're still looking, that just was an indictment on Jahan and his lack of performance in the practice field, his lack of leadership in the locker room, lack of impact. So it was time to move on. I think it was a perfect timing, because if he went into the season with us and he did not perform how we needed him to perform to create value, or how other people thought he would perform, then the value of Jahan would go down and we would have gotten even less draft capital for Jahan. So I am not upset. I understand that people are like, hey, this is a make or break trade as far as trust goes with Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. See what they're doing. I don't think it's a make or break trade. I think it's a trade that tests or will highlight decision making, but I don't think it's a make or break trade that for Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. They just got here. So again, Jahan is not this. He's not this 1,000-yard, 10 touchdown catch machine out there bodying people or mossing people or running around people or taking the top off of the defense. No, that's Terry McLaurin. Terry was a 3rd-round pick. So, I mean, it is what it is. I actually like the trade. I don't mind it at all. I hope that we do something with the draft capital. I mean, we've already. It's pretty obvious that we're not in the Brandon Ayuk sweepstakes, and I'm not mad at it. I mean, Brandon Ayuk, he's a fine receiver. He's a good receiver, but he's not a Hall of Fame type receiver or a all-time great type receiver where we have to be dying for. I don't think so. I think we'll be just fine. I think we have, with Luke McCaffrey, I'm excited to see what Diami can do. I think Diami has that speed to take the top off defense. I think he's really that speedster down the field. I think he with more reps, in-game reps, his hands will get better, his route running will get better. I think he'll have a good solid season this year. Zacchaeus is there. I mean, I understand that he was a backup in his previous team, but you never know with opportunity. You never know what can happen with these players. So I'm excited to see Jaden, what Jaden can do with these group of receivers, and you never know what's gonna happen during the season. Like Adam Peterson said, hey, draft capital gives you opportunities. See what happens. Like Adam Peterson, Dan Quinn said, this is an initial fit 3-man roster. Things can change. Things can come up. Trade propositions can come up, and let's see what happens. But like I said, not mad at the trade. I'm excited to see what happens with the receiver group. I'm just excited to see what happens overall with the offense, and we'll see. Check out my first video that I ever made, where I pointed out a lot of the flaws of Ron Rivera after the Bears blowout game last year. I said they need to keep Cornelius Lucas. He should be the starter. And guess what? Adam Peters did. He kept Cornelius. I also said these guys are not ready to play. You need to bring a coach that gets players fired up and ready to play. They brought in Dan Quinn. There were other players that I mentioned in my first video. I said Kendall Fuller, not that great. Need to move on. Moved on. So go check out my first video. I'm coming to y'all from Texas. I'm gonna try to keep posting these videos more often, but I have a lot of stuff going on. I have life. I have school. Trying to get my master's, and I have work full time. I have a kid on the way, so trying to stay busy with all of these things. But if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. If you just want to interact, leave a comment down below. Thank y'all.